Have you ever felt the sting of being wrongly accused when someone you trusted turned against you with lies that cut deep? King David knew that pain intimately. But in Psalm 7, instead of lashing out, he did something that will take your breath away. He turned to God and said, "Lord, if I'm truly guilty, then let my enemy have their way with me." That's not weakness. Friend, that's the kind of faith that changes everything. Welcome to Sacred Journeys, the wounds that words can leave. Some of the deepest scars we carry aren't from physical injuries. They're from words that pierced our hearts like arrows. False accusations that came out of nowhere. Judgment from people who only saw a piece of the story. Betrayal from those we thought we could trust. When that happens, everything in us wants to fight back, doesn't it? We want to set the record straight, defend our reputation, prove our innocence. We rehearse conversations in our minds, craft the perfect comeback. It's human nature. But what if there's another way? A better way? The way David discovered in one of his darkest moments. David's darkest hour. Picture this. David, the man after God's own heart, found himself under vicious attack, not from enemy soldiers, but from lies and slander that threatened to destroy everything he held dear. His reputation was being shredded, his character questioned. The psalm doesn't tell us exactly who was behind these attacks, but maybe that's what makes it more powerful. Because we've all been there. That moment when someone turned our world upside down with accusations that felt like daggers to the heart. Here's what amazes me about David's response. Instead of calling his supporters or crafting his defense, he goes straight to God, but not with the prayer you might expect. Lord my God, if I have done this, and there is guilt on my hands, if I have repaid my ally with evil, or without cause have robbed my foe, then let my enemy pursue and overtake me. Let him trample my life to the ground and make me sleep in the dust. The prayer that changes everything. Can you imagine praying those words? Most of us pray, God, protect me from my enemies. David prays, God, if I'm actually guilty, then let them have their way with me. That's not the prayer of a broken man. That's the prayer of someone who trusts God so completely that he's willing to be wrong. If it means truth wins in the end, David is saying, Lord, you know my heart better than I do. Search me. If there's something I've missed, some sin I've ignored, then let justice come, even if it's against me. The courage to be searched. Here's what moves me so deeply. David's prayer doesn't come from desperation. It comes from a faith that says, I'd rather be exposed and made right than protected and stay wrong. How many of us have that kind of courage? The courage to invite God to search not just our situation, but our own hearts? Take a moment. Close your eyes if you can, and ask this question quietly. Lord, is there anything in me that I've been unwilling to see? Any way I've hurt others? Any truth I've been running from? This isn't about taking blame for what others have done. It's about humility. The kind that says, before you fight for me, Lord, make sure my hands are clean. The foundation of peace. When David prays like this, something beautiful happens. He finds peace. Not because his situation changed, it hasn't yet, but because his conscience is clear before God. There's something powerful about knowing you've been honest with God. That gives you a strength that no accusation can shake. When you know you've been searched and found clean, you can face anything with peace. If you're walking through a season of unfair attack right now, can I encourage you, don't rush to defend yourself. Invite God to search you. Let Him examine your heart, your motives, your actions. And when your conscience is clear before Him, you'll find a peace the world can't understand and can't take away. A humble beginning. This is how Psalm 7 begins. Not with anger, not with revenge, but with humility. And humility is always the doorway to God's justice. When we humble ourselves before Him, we position ourselves to receive help in ways we never could. Through our own fighting, David's story is just beginning. But already, we see the heart that made him a man after God's own heart. A heart willing to be wrong if it means being right with God. Stay with me, because what David does next will show us how to find strength in surrender. The attacks that won't stop. David had done the hard work. He'd examined his heart before God and found it clean. His conscience was clear. But here's what breaks my heart about his story. The attacks didn't stop. The lies kept coming. The rage, the injustice, the relentless pressure. It just wouldn't let up. Have you ever been there? You've done everything right. Searched your heart. Made things right with God. And yet, the storm keeps raging around you. The people who hurt you. Don't back down. The situation doesn't improve. The accusations keep echoing in your mind. That's exactly where David found himself. And what he does next might change how you face your own battles. The moment of surrender. Instead of doubling down on his defense or giving in to despair, David does something extraordinary. He hands the battle over to God. not with a cry for vengeance, but with a plea for divine justice. Arise, Lord, in your anger. Rise up against the rage of my enemies. Awake, my God, decree justice. Let the assembled peoples gather around you, while you sit enthroned over them on high. Let the Lord judge the peoples. Vindicate me, Lord, according to my righteousness, according to my integrity. O Most High, do you hear what David is doing here? He's not asking God to simply give him victory. He's asking God to take his rightful place as judge. David invites God to step in, not to destroy his enemies, but to restore what is right. The turning point. This is the turning point. We all need to reach that moment when we stop trying to control outcomes and start trusting that God's justice isn't delayed. It's perfectly timed. David knows justice doesn't always come instantly, but he believes with every fiber of his being that God sees everything and will act. And in that belief, David finds a strength no earthly battle could give him. There's something beautiful about releasing control, isn't there, when we've been fighting so hard to prove ourselves, to fix things, to make people see the truth. There's almost relief in saying, God, this is too big for me. I'm handing it over to you. Your moment of release. Can I ask you something personal? Is there an area in your life right now where you're tempted to keep fighting back? Maybe it's in your relationships, your workplace, or even in your own thoughts. You're exhausted from trying to defend yourself, prove your worth, or make someone see your side of the story. What would it look like to bring that battle to God today and simply say, Lord, you see it all. I trust you to act on my behalf. What mature faith looks like. This is what mature faith looks like, friend. It's not passive. David isn't giving up. It's not indifferent. He still cares deeply about justice, but it is surrendered. He's still honest about the pain. He's still bold in prayer, but he gives God the final word. That's the kind of faith that can sleep peacefully at night, even when the storm is still raging outside. Because when you know that the God of justice is fighting for you, you can rest in ways you never could when you were fighting for yourself. An invitation to rest. If you're weary today from fighting injustice, whether in your family, your job, or even in the battles raging inside your own mind, I want to invite you to pause. Let God arise. Let him judge. Let him speak. And while you wait, rest in knowing that you are seen, heard, and deeply loved by the righteous one. You don't have to carry this burden alone. You don't have to fix everything. You don't have to convince everyone of your worth. God already knows, and He is already working on your behalf. Walking through the fire. Faith under fire doesn't mean the fire goes away. It means you know who walks with you in it, and you know who holds the scales of justice. David is about to show us something even more beautiful about what happens when we truly surrender our battles to God. Because when we stop fighting for ourselves and start trusting God to fight for us, something miraculous happens in our hearts. When everything shifts, Psalm chapter 7 verse 17 says, I will give thanks to the Lord because of His righteousness. I will sing the praises of the name of the Lord Most High. This is where everything changes, not in David's circumstances, but in his soul. The storm around him is still raging. The enemies are still speaking. Justice hasn't arrived yet. And yet, David sings. He doesn't sing because the battle is over. He sings because he knows who holds the outcome. This isn't just praise for what God has done. This is prophetic praise, a declaration of faith in what God will do, the power of worship in the wait. There's something deeply powerful about praising God before the victory is visible. Worship shifts our focus from what we lack to who He is, and who He is: righteous, faithful, just never changes. David's posture turns from pleading to praising, from struggling to surrendering. And that is the real victory. Right now, would you dare to praise God for His righteousness, even while your situation remains unresolved? What would it look like to sing through your storm? You don't have to feel strong. You just have to be willing. Even a whisper of worship in the middle of pain reaches heaven like a roar. The song is the breakthrough. Praising God in the trial isn't denial, it's declaration. It says, my trust is in you, not in what I see. Like David, we can choose to be people who end our prayers not in fear, but in faith, not with clenched fists, but with open hands, lifted in worship. Your song of faith today might be the breakthrough of tomorrow. Or maybe, just maybe, the song is the breakthrough, the journey of a faithful heart. Psalm 7 began with accusation and ends with adoration. That's the journey of a faithful heart. And it's the journey you and I are invited to take day by day, prayer by prayer, from the humility to be searched to the surrender of our battles, to the song of faith in the storm. This is how God transforms hearts. Through fire. Final encouragement. Whatever you're facing today, remember David's journey. Let God search your heart. Hand your battles over to Him. And then, even in the waiting, choose to sing. Because when we worship God for who He is, not just for what He does, we find a peace the world can't understand, and a strength no storm can shake. If this message stirred something in your heart, would you let me know by hitting that like button? And if you want to continue this journey through Scripture together, subscribe to Sacred Journeys and tap the notification bell. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Share one way you can choose to worship God today, even in your current circumstances. Let's encourage each other in faith. And remember, friend, your song matters, and God is listening